Hey guys, welcome back. As promised, I'm here to answer some of your questions, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first question I have is from Russell Neven. It says, "Hi John, I turned 30 last year and since then I've had a niggle after niggle doing CrossFit. This year I'm stepping back from CrossFit and putting extra focus on my mobility. Looking at the content from Knees Over Toes Guy and Tom Merrick for knowledge and benchmarks. My main question is, how do I maintain my strength and performance while working around these niggles, improving my mobility and resilience in the gym? Also, just want to say thank you for the great content and keep it up." Okay, so let's break this down. First, it's great to know how old you are, that you're 30, but let's just make sure we're not attaching our age to injuries as if the two are joined in some way or shape or form. Sure, as you get older, the prevalence of injuries does increase a small amount, but you're only 30, and I don't want people to look at this and feel like, oh, as soon as I hit 30, I'm going to start getting injuries. That's not the case. So you've been getting niggle after niggle doing CrossFit. Now, this is where the grey area comes in with CrossFit. The thing is a lot of the movements in it have a high prerequisite of skill, mobility, and strength. Like, to be able to snatch or clean and jerk efficiently, you need way more mobility than the average person has. You need a decent amount of strength really, and body awareness massively, and you also need to adapt the skill from it. And most people don't have them in even amounts, so they might be stronger than they are mobile, or more mobile than they have strength and not have body awareness. And that can lead to injuries, especially if you're doing it in a class environment where it's a little bit more competitive, let's say. So this is where it's both under the onus of the person and of the coach to make sure that person, to want a better term, stays in their lane. And I don't mean don't look to improve, far from that, but I mean work in the parameters that are safe for you and own your positions before you move forward. And that for me is the sign of a good coach and an intelligent athlete. I like to call everyone athletes because if you're using your body in athletic endeavors, to me you are an athlete. Okay, so you're stepping away from CrossFit, putting some extra time into mobility, and you want to know how to maintain your strength and performance over this time. Now, it'd be good for us to define what your performance parameters are, because that could be anything from a 1 rep max to your Fran time. It doesn't really matter. In terms of strength, outright strength, I don't think you have to worry about that. For example, if you're doing snatches and cleans and stuff, that doesn't necessarily cross over to maximal strength output. It's a real skill of an exercise. Sure, it requires a lot of strength, but the skill and mobility, as we spoke about before, is really, really important in that. You could still, with many different injuries and not a huge amount of mobility, be able to deadlift and deadlift safely. Maybe you do rack pulls if you've got super tight hamstrings, for example. And there's going to be some kind of leg exercise you can do. Let's say you need more mobility for your squats, where you could probably box squat, or you could probably split squat, or you could even leg press. So in terms of strength stuff, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if you were able to build more strength at this time, because you're not trying to look after lots of different focuses like you do in CrossFit. It covers many different modalities. You're not having to worry about your gymnastics so much, your fitness and what have you. You can just really focus on the strength. So from the strength parameter, I would say focus on your mobility and a good strength training program. Depending on how many times you train a week will decide how you set that up. Now, when it comes to performance, are we talking about your strength performance? Are we talking about your fitness performance? This is a bit of a grey area, but there's nothing stopping you from putting some kind of fitness workouts in, whether they're Metcons at the end of your session, but you are 100% in control of the exercise selection. You don't rock up to your class and see, this is what the class is today. Oh, I need to change that for me. It's not ideal, but I could get away with doing this. You have a blank canvas. You can pick the exercises, stay away from things that are going to cause you problems, and actually there'll be some rehab exercises that you can do which work as part of a Metcon. So it just depends on what your injuries are and the exercise selection you take if you want to work it into a fitness routine, let's say. When it comes to resilience, it's about creating a balanced body. Like I said before, if you're super strong, but you lack the mobility, then spend more time on the mobility to make these things equal. Start to build out these weaknesses. You become a more wholesome athlete. That way, your body is more in balance. So you're less likely to have injuries. So that is how you would create your resilience. I hope that helps, buddy. Okay, next question is from Eva R. My question is, when I do heavy squats or goblet squats, I get lots of issues with my right knee and hip. I already do mobility work before and static stretching after my sessions, but some days it's just so bad I can't do the movement at all after warming up. Already trying to strengthen the quadriceps isolated. Any tips for strengthening mobility and stretching and strengthening exercises? Okay, so if you're already doing these mobility exercises and you're getting pain in your hip and your knee, maybe mobility is not what you need here, or maybe it's only part of the puzzle. Maybe you need strength and stability. Now, normally knee and hip injuries, particularly knee, are just the symptom. They are not the cause. So often if people have got collapsed arches on their feet, that will travel up the knee will become valgus, so when you squat, the knees will kick in, and that can travel to the knee and up to the hip. People will often say, if your knees kick in when you squat, it's automatically weak glutes. That is not always the case. It can come from the feet. Conversely, you could have weak glutes and your knees are kicking in. It could be a connection of all the above. So what I would do for you is, it would be naive of me to try and prescribe you stuff without knowing your situation, seeing you move. But I would take your focus a little bit away from the mobility and stretching so much and endeavor some of that time into understanding the stability and looking for weaknesses in your movements. A great person to follow for this would be Squat University, Dr. Aaron Horschig. We've actually had him on the podcast before. He does lots of YouTube videos which will show you how to do the assessments on yourself. Now, obviously, I would advise you to see a physio because it would be much more coherent and it would be more of a definitive answer. But if money is tight or you just want to do research for yourself, that would be a really great place to start. And you might just find that it's nothing to do with your mobility, it's just the fact that you're unstable in your glutes or you're unstable in your feet. It could also be the structure of your body. Everybody's hip and ball sockets are different. Some people have more bone overgrowth, which will change the way in which they can squat and how deep they can squat. There's lots to look at here. So I would check out Squat University on that, or see a physio and find out where your weaknesses are, not necessarily where your lack of mobility or flexibility is. Okay, last question, and this one's a bit more nutrition based. It's from Polly Dolly. Hi John, my question is regarding calorie deficit and those last stubborn 20 pounds. Over the past several years, I took a sensible approach to losing weight, down slightly over 100 pounds. Amazing, well done. But have not been able to budge these last 20. I work with a coach 3 times a week on strength training and a bit of boxing. I get my cardio steps in 6 days a week. My calories I track and run between 1200 and 1400 daily. I would appreciate any suggestions that you might have. Right, okay, so the first thing I would say for this is amazing. That's incredible what you've done. I would ask you, why the 20 more pounds? Now, a lot of people, they have a goal in their head of a number, and they feel like that's when I was 20, which is probably, you've built a lot of muscle mass since then and it's irrelevant, or it's just a number that they feels like a nice whole number, but it has no relevance to them. And shock horror, it has no relevance to anyone else. You don't look at people down the street and go, bet he weighs 13 stone, bet she weighs 200 pounds. You know what I mean? That's not how it works. The weight is just a relationship between you and gravity. It should be more of an onus on how you feel you fit in clothes, your relationship with your body and how you look in the mirror. Sure, the scales are valuable in terms of tracking progress in a longer term, and they're obviously valuable if you compete in sports which require you hit a certain weight. So my first thing would be, do you need to reassess this idea of 20 pounds? Is it just a goal that you originally started and you've been strength training for a considerable amount of time now and you have more muscle mass, which now makes it a slightly less valid goal and probably a little bit too much? So you'd be sacrificing too much and you'd have to start losing muscle mass to get down to that, because calories are already quite low, to be honest. I mean, everyone is different. I can't just, in an ideal world, I'd have everyone as many calories as possible, but I'm sure you've been working intelligently with your coach, and sometimes when things aren't moving, you do have to take more calories away. But that would certainly not be something that I'd be really trying to do with you, because in my opinion, that's certainly on the lower range. Definitely on the lower range of what I would have people doing calorie wise, especially for a longer term outlook. Now, if you do have 20 pounds to lose safely and sensibly, I would probably need more information. I'd want to know where you've been, where you're going, is there any prerequisite health conditions, what are our daily steps and activity looking like, are we tracking 7 days a week? Because often what I find with people is they'll be within a set goal Monday to Friday, and the weekends come and things become a lot harder, and it actually eats into the calorie deficit they've created for the week, quite often wipes it out. Someone's created like a 500 calorie deficit daily, which gives them 2,500 calories extra, and that gets nuked on the Friday or the Saturday, not even on the Sunday. So they are all things for me to consider, and I'd need to know a little bit more information on that. So on that front, I'm gonna say, guys, thank you very much for giving me these questions. There is more to go through. I will do some more. If you enjoyed this video, do let me know and put any questions that you have of your own into the comments, and I will come back with you. If you want more videos directly like this, just questions to the camera, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. If you'd rather I just answered one or two in a vlog here or then, again, that is also fine. This is not going to replace doing vlogs or other videos. It's just something that I wanted to do, and to be honest, it's helpful, I feel, for you people. I enjoy doing it, and it doesn't take the same amount of effort or friction for me to do this as it does to create a vlog. The editing will be less, and I've not got to film so much because it's all up in here, if that makes sense. So on that note, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell notification, all that kind of good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.